My name is Bill Holstein, and I am president of the Overseas Press Club Foundation and your host for today. Today we are here to launch the next wave of foreign correspondence so they may follow the sacred path, what I regard as the sacred path of being on the ground to discover the truth and then telling the world no matter the odds. One way we inspire our young people today is to hold up role models, hold up the lives of people who were the greats in this business. So today, at the request of board member Pat Oster, we are pleased to be the platform for officially presenting the works of Time Life photographer Ben Martin to the University of Texas. Here is Ben's widow, Kathryn Leigh Scott, who used to hang out with Ben at the OPC in the 1960s, where they were members.
Well, thank you, Bill, and thank you, Overseas Press Club Foundation, for this really wonderful opportunity to exhibit photographs from the archive of photojournalist Ben Martin. I was Ben's girlfriend, wife, camera caddy, and unpaid staff for much of his career, and now I'm looking after his archive, which is a daunting responsibility. Ben, who was mentored by W. Eugene Smith and hired by Wilson Hicks, the life photo editor, straight out of Ohio University, photographed for Time, Life, People, Fortune, and Sports Illustrated for some 35 years. And he became Time Magazine's first staff photographer in New York. So when Ben passed away in February of 2017, I was very grateful to Don Carleton for reaching out and letting me know how much the Briscoe Center would appreciate acquiring Ben's historic archive, where it would join the archives of so many of his illustrious colleagues. And with that, I want to introduce three women here today, and I'm so glad they could join us. Adrienne Arricchio, who is the widow of Life magazine photographer Bill Epridge, and she has helped me enormously with archival matters and with the exhibit today. And Alyssa Adams, who is the widow of Pulitzer Prize-winning photographer Eddie Adams, whose archive is already at the Briscoe Center. And she took me as her guest to a meeting of APAG, which is the American Photographic Archive Group, which was indispensable to me. And it was there that I met Dina Schutzer. And she is the daughter of Life magazine photographer Paul Schutzer. And Paul Schutzer and Ben Martin were the only two photographers backstage throughout the first historic televised presidential debate in 1960 between Richard Nixon and John Kennedy. And Paul Schutzer picked up one of Ben's cameras and photographed Ben photographing Richard Nixon. And Richard Nixon always claimed that it was that photograph that Ben took that appeared in Time magazine that cost him the 1960 election. Well, years later, when Ben photographed Richard Nixon again, at Nixon's request, he showed up with an electric razor in hand and said, "You're not going to get me twice." So those stories and all of those photographs, and importantly, the stories behind those photographs, and photographs such as these. This is a contact sheet, and the contact sheets and the negatives and the prints will all go to Briscoe. These are photographs of Robert F. Kennedy giving a press conference at the Overseas Press Club, April 1st, 1968, only 2 months before he lost his life. So these photographs, and importantly the stories and everything connected with them, will be preserved at the Briscoe Center for future generations. And now thank you. I am overwhelmed and delighted and can't thank Don Carleton enough. And now I would like to introduce Don Carleton. And he is the director of the Dolph Briscoe Center for American History at the University of Texas, Austin. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kathryn, and gee, what a great-looking crowd we have here today. This is wonderful especially for the Overseas Press Club Foundation, which we're so delighted to be helping out with here, and we're delighted to be present for this. I appreciate Jane Riley and Bill who really giving us this opportunity to say a few words about Ben Martin and Kathryn Leigh Scott's generosity to the Briscoe Center. But I know you have a full schedule today, so I promise not to give you my professorial lecture that I give to my graduate students. It's about an hour and a half long. So I tossed that out. Before I go any farther, though, I do want to thank Kathryn Leigh Scott for her incredible generosity and foresightedness in preserving the archives. We've lost a lot of archives over the years, and so you really appreciate what you've done. Also wanted to, just simply say something about the Briscoe Center. Some of you may not have heard really what we do. We have the Briscoe Centers at the University of Texas at Austin, and we have several collection development initiatives going on, but I think our most active effort is to build one of the country's premier research collections documenting the history of the American news media. That effort began 30 years ago when Walter Cronkite decided to donate his entire personal and professional archive to the Briscoe Center, and that's the founding collection for ever since, the 30 years we've been working. Since then, we have amassed the papers of numerous journalists, both print and broadcast, and including such people as Robert Trout and Walter Winchell, of course Walter Cronkite, Harry Reasoner, Bob Simon, Andy Rooney, Morley Safer, on and on and on. Dozens and dozens of folks who have been important to the history of American news media. These efforts to really document news media has also included, of course, news and documentary photographers, including, as we've already mentioned, Pulitzer Prize-winning photographer Eddie Adams, but also such stellar photographers, news photographers, as Wally McNamee, Dirk Halstead, Diana Walker, Carolyn Cole, as I said, Dirk Halstead, Spider Martin, the civil rights photographer in Alabama for the Selma, also Flip Schulke, and of course, now, most happily, Ben Martin. So I also want to mention that the Briscoe Center is a proud sponsor and home for the Morley Safer Award for outstanding reporting. So for more information about that, I encourage anyone who wants to apply to not be nominated for consideration for the Safer Award for outstanding reporting to make a submission or have someone you know make a submission. You can go to our website, www.morleysafer award, and get all the information you need about nominations and submissions. We gave out our first award last October to Hannah Dreyer, the Pulitzer Prize winner, and now at the Washington Post. So she was a great first person to receive this award. And finally, I can't help myself. You understand, is what we do here. But if any of you are looking for a permanent home for your papers and collections, not for yourself, we don't have room, but we do have room for your papers and your collections. So please contact me, Don Carleton, and I'm going to give you my cell phone number to give you an idea how eager we are to talk to you. My number is 512-971-1560. I'll be happy, I really will be happy to discuss the process that we go through for this, as well as our program. So I appreciate your patience in giving me a few minutes, and I want to thank everyone, and have a good lunch. Thank you.
Thank you. Enjoy your lunch. We'll be back soon.